Welcome, everyone. I'm Pat Mitchell. Joining me, as always, is Adam. This is The Truth Behind the Trade. This is a video series where we go through a trading clinic that happens every single day live on screen share in my trading service, Trick Trades. And then I kind of go through it with Adam here, and not only do we react to it, but we also dig a lot deeper. There's only so much that I expect Kelvo to do, which is our afternoon or late morning moderator. And before we get into that, I always like to start this out and this is a hell of an episode, and I know there's so many people that are going to get an absolute ton of great information and education out of this one to help you with your day trading mentality, especially. And it's going to help you work on your entries, and it's going to tell you why you're making the mistakes that you're making. And for a lot of people that are watching this, you may not understand how we frame certain things. It can come off a little combative sometimes, and it's like we're attacking these members, and that's not the case. All of these members know what we're doing with these trading clinics, that we're doing a truth behind the trade. And they want this, they need this. This is how we get better. And with Trick Trades here, I just want to share something quickly with you guys. Now, we have a no trader left behind guarantee. And what this isn't just something that is some typical marketing bullshit. It has nothing to do with that. This is how we do our no trader left behind. Every member that we have, whether you are on our lower tier or guidance membership or mentoring membership, you have access to doing one-on-one mentoring sessions live on screen share every single day. And it gets to the root causes of a trader's issues. And this is how we have basically designed our program so that no trader is left behind. We want to make sure that every trader has a 100% success rate. Okay. Now that is a bold claim. Now, I don't come from a background where I'm anything special. I'm definitely not a genius, and I barely graduated high school. And I wanted to basically show that everybody and anybody can do this. The only thing that's stopping people is basically themselves. It's not the actual act of trading. The act of trading is very simple. And I don't want to make this too long-winded, but I want to make sure that people understand that are watching this, that this is why we're doing these videos. We're doing these videos, this video series, The Truth Behind the Trade, is to actually get to the truth behind people's trades and their trading. So I wanted to share that with you guys here first, and just let you know that we do have a no trader left behind guarantee. And that's exactly what it means. We will never leave any trader, no matter who it is, no matter what their skill set level is, no matter how long they're struggling. We're not going to leave them behind. We're not going to leave them in the dust while everybody else progresses. That's not something that I would ever want to do. I wouldn't want to be left behind. So that's what we're doing. And I think it's important to point out that this is why we're doing the things that we're doing. And now we are going to get into it. We're going to start discussing John. John is a member, and he took part in yesterday's, depends on when this episode comes out, but yesterday was his live trading clinic when Kelvo was going over his entries. We have an app, our sizing strategy, which is an app, the Size Up app. And it shows all of the information. It logs all the information. It gives a very detailed plan to take a trader from $2,500 starting account to an $18,000 account in 5.5 months. And the beautiful thing is we're actually working something right now. By the time this is released, it will be, I believe it is 4.5 months or 4.8 months. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's in that 4-month range now. Yep, we've reworked some numbers, and now that we have more data and we know it's possible to get traders to make $600 in under 5 months per day. That's what they'll be making per day. This is all proving out. And the reason why we keep dropping that time, it first started out to be about 7 months, then it's 5.5 months, and now it's under 5 months, in that 4.5 month range, because this is how well it's working. If you want more information on that, go to tricktrades.com and you can read all the information that you want. I'm sure we'll discuss it a little bit in this. That's what is going to be taken when you see the video clips. You're going to see an app essentially, and that's what it is. You can get it on your mobile device as well as your browser on your PC or Mac, and that way you can track all of your entries, and it tells you exactly how to size up, when to size up, the whole nine. It does everything for you, and it's been an amazing experience for our traders. So now all of that stuff is out of the way. So then you guys are filled in. For those of you that are just joining us, we're going to discuss a trader of ours, John. And I introduced him a couple minutes ago. John's a trader with us, and he's having some entry issues. One of his entry issues is he's entering correctly. Sorry. His entries are fine, but he's getting out very quickly right away. And we know why. And if you have that problem where you are constantly not giving yourself or making enough in your trade, you're not giving it enough time to actually work, and you're constantly in and out of these positions, this is the episode for you. So let's get into the first little clip. We're going to share some clips taken from the live trading clinic, and we're going to start setting the tone for this episode. So let's get into this one here. Hang tight again, folks, please. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to play this. Let's rock and roll.
One of us, just kind of like as we said before, too, you guys are, when we see we're falling behind, that massive thing of FOMO, which is, I definitely feel a big problem for me, is that FOMO, falling behind, and that's been affecting my trading.
Okay, so what John is talking about here is something that a lot of traders, and I know that that's a real short clip. Basically, what John is talking about is feeling left behind because he's seen the progress of other traders in the room. We have a room that are full of extremely highly trained traders. Some people are obviously further ahead than others. Some people feel that they are behind those people. And what's happening here is comparing people. You're comparing yourself to others. It's a big mistake. And we covered this in the last Truth Behind the Trade, but I think it's something that we should really hammer home with all of you, that comparing yourself to others, it turns into a circle jerk. You're not going to get anywhere. And your progress, right, has nothing to do with somebody else's progress, right? And the one way that I usually can tell that people are comparing themselves to others, and this doesn't have to do with John, it probably has to do with a lot of you out there. When people ask me, right, when they're interested about joining the service or whatever else, they'll ask me, number one, what my hit rate is, and I understand why they would ask that. And then number two, how long until your members gain consistency or make a certain amount of money, or however they frame that question. And what most services will do out there is they'll say, well, my members are on average becoming consistent in blah, blah, blah months or weeks or whatever the hell they say. Well, that's a bullshit answer. It's a lie to you to get you into the service, and I won't do that. My results, my members' results, have nothing to do with you. There's members that are consistent where it's almost immediately. And then there's members that take months to gain that consistency, or maybe even longer. We have some members that struggle a long time and that's just natural. It has nothing to do with the education or the service. It has to do with the actual trader. There's varying degrees of mental fuckery that happen with all of us. We're all brainwashed in some ways. We all have deep-seated childhood trauma in one way or another. And that all kind of trickles down the way into your adulthood and now your traderhood. And that's something that you cannot you have to start working on that sort of stuff, right? So my results are not indicative of your results or another member's results or anything else. It's, I could tell you the lie and say in 3 months you'll be consistent, right? And that may not be the case. Now, what the beautiful thing is though about this sizing app is that our Trick Trade Size Up app, if we have noticed, and this is why we keep taking down that time, is the majority, and that's the best way to put it, the majority of members are progressing. Now, will some or will all in that 4.5 months now or 5.5 months, will they be at that $600 per day? If they follow what we tell them to do, yes, absolutely. I can say that with 100% guarantee, set in stone, done like dinner. But it is a matter of traders doing what I'm telling them to do. That has to do with active listening and then active execution. And that's the problems that a lot of traders have. They think that they're listening, but they're not. They're doing other things. So it sets them, in their mind, behind. And at the end of the day, there's no such thing as being behind. You're going to progress at whatever rate that you are going to progress at. And you need to be able to make those adjustments and corrections. So with all of that said, it's not about feeling behind. It's not about comparing yourself to others. If you're doing that, you're not focusing on what you need to focus on. The only focus that you should have is your trading and where you should be getting better. Like if you take a look at this screenshot or this video here, you can see John's equity curve. You see how it's very up and down, and it's like trending down. And then you see these last few days are very flatline. So it's flatlined because he's at the point where I need to stop. I need to get some help. So he's been waiting for this trading clinic to see if it can correct some of his issues. And this is a very normal type of equity curve for an account growth for traders that are having some issues, specifically John's issue. Okay, so is there anything you wanted to add to that, Adam?
No, at this point, no. I think we're about to get into some good stuff here. Where
Yep.
I definitely will, but yeah, let's keep going.
Okay, so the next one here is the initial lie. This is the one where John is now telling himself certain things. It's in the notes because what right here is the app and why he's missing certain trades and this and that. So let's have a listen to this one. This one's a little bit longer, but I don't think we need the entire clip.
Got fearful of it falling and only thought about the potential loss and not the protection. That's what you've said. That's not what I see. So this is a SPY call. So this is SPY into this level here, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Good entry. You couldn't ask for better. Perfect entry.
And I want to point that out. That entry there, it might be hard to see. It's the blue arrow of that chart. It's a perfect entry. It doesn't get any better. His entries aren't what the issue is.
Great job on the entry. But I see the same thing. And I honestly think you're lying to yourself in those comments. I don't think that's the right reason. Got fearful of it failing, and only thought about the potential loss and not the protection.
Okay, so now with that said, what he's doing and what a lot of traders do is they will tell themselves lies, right? It's real hard to admit the truth to ourselves, right? One of the easiest things in the world to do is to lie to yourself. Now, you may not lie to others, but usually if you're lying to yourself, you are on some level still lying to others in just day-to-day interaction. The fish is this big, right? When it's really this big. And these are little stretches of truths that people do. And it's extremely damaging. At all costs, we need to seek the truth. And if you're going to be a successful trader, it is impossible to lie to yourself and be successful. Now, there's a trader that I use an example of this. It doesn't matter who it is. He's a famous trader. He makes wild P&L, big P&L, and then massive, huge losses. And he lies to himself. If you look at his notes, because he always posts some sort of note about what happened on the day, it's always the market makers, the manipulation, the everything else, where in fact, it's actually him. We know as traders or professional traders, we should know that there is a certain level of manipulation. If there is manipulation that is going on, then we can use that to our advantage. If you're aware of that, right? Like if you're aware, you have the information, then you're aware of an edge. There's something that you can extract from that, right? So when you are constantly looking to blame or not being honest, you're never going to correct that problem ever. You'll never correct it. You may have consistency for a while, very short term, but you will never have that long-term consistency. You might be consistent. You might make a buck trading for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, but at some point it's going to catch up to you. Like for those of you watching this, like I have a real quick question, then we're going to move on. Do you plan on only doing this for a couple of years? No, right? Because this is the career path that you've chosen. So if this is the career path that you've chosen, you're going to have to be consistent the rest of your life, so to speak, right? For as long as you're doing this, you need that consistency because that's how you pay the bills. So when you're lying to yourself, it's a major issue. That's not what's going on here. And we're going to show you what the actual problem is. Okay, so let's get into that now.
You're on your entry.
Yep.
And early on your exit. So you put here too early and too late again. What do you mean by too late? Too early and too late? What was you late on?
Yes, yeah.
So before we get to that, I want to point out his entry and his exit are straight across. Okay. He enters, comes down a little bit further, which is fine. That's normal. And as soon as it comes back up to his entry, he's out. Okay. So I wanted to point that out for you guys, just in case you can't see.
I think I just mistyped that. I was just too early on the exit as well.
Okay.
Just too early.
So you was a little early on your entry. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you were definitely, your exit shows me what I see from this. Honestly, all I see there is absolute relief to be green.
Yeah.
Nothing more. Absolute relief to be green.
So that's important to point out. And that's pretty much the clip here. How many times have you been in a trade, folks, that are watching this, where you enter into a trade, it comes down a little bit further. It doesn't hit your stop, but it just comes down that little bit further. And then as soon as it comes out, you're getting out. You're just relieved, right? Like there's a sense of relief. It's like you were red, you were red, you were red. Now it's finally green. I'm getting out. You tap, you ring that bell, you wash out, right? You want to get out because it's uncomfortable. You were uncomfortable for a couple of minutes, and then finally you feel that relief. So you're like, oh, you get out. Well, you're never going to make any money doing that. It turns into your P&L. And a lot of people want to know why. It's like one of the problems that they have is they'll say this all the time. My wins or my losses are always way bigger than my wins. This is why. This is why your wins are small and your losses are big. Right there, because you never give it the time to actually start unfolding and working for you. You're going to be early on your entries from time to time, folks. It's going to happen. Especially now, you're going to notice that in these videos that we're doing, the truth behind the trade, they're going to be very small size trades because that's where these traders are in. They're in wheelhouse 1 or wheelhouse 2, where you're allowed to trade with 1 contract or possibly 2 contracts. We are trading options here, but we trade them exactly like the stock. So don't think any differently. And this is a major issue that a lot of traders have. They don't know why. Why are they doing this? So now that we've kind of told you what the first or the major issue, and there are a couple other clips here, but when you go over, and I could share these clips with you, on all of his green trades, that's what this is. He's entering fine. His entries are fine. And it comes down that little bit further. And as soon as it comes back up to where he's like flush, he's even, or maybe a little bit ahead, he gets out. It's that relief to be green. Okay. So I could share these other clips with you, but I think really that's what the issue is. And I want to hand the reins over to Adam here. Adam has some insight that is great. That's the best way of putting it. So let's hand it over to Adam.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Pat. I've suffered from the same issue, Jen and myself, of that relief of when it comes to, oh man, I'm green again. I'm just happy to cut it and move on and blah, blah, blah. So after, just a lot of self-work and insight, I came upon the realization that there's a very big difference between people who have lived their life in debt versus people who live their life in abundance or profitable. And the difference, there's a very distinctive mentality of how we see the world, and especially when it comes to our relationship with money. And if anyone's listening who's dealt with credit card debt, follow your life back to, well, when did it start? For me, it started back in probably high school, where you get this kind of sense of reward. Oh, I was approved for a credit card, like it's a victory. You don't know, you just signed a contract with the devil, literally, because with that, the dopamine or whatever, the high that you get from having this spending power that you've never had before, you literally get addicted to it and you use it to solve your problems. And so what unfolds is, okay, I'm going to get my car stereo, I got a small little job, and then I'm going to pay off my, I started off working as a dishwasher in a kitchen. And, what did I do? I would go pay off my credit card debt so I could have my cool car stereo and my cool, whatever, all stuff I wanted, never ever thinking about I should be saving my money. I was always thinking about the next cool thing I could get. And so this just escalated through my whole life until, I'm tens of thousands of dollars in debt by just getting things that I wanted now, never earning the right to own those things or possess those things because of my hard work and saving and financial discipline. So as I bring that level of thinking into trading, I realized I had the same debt mentality, that I was very comfortable in the red. So I would sit all day in a red trade, wasting my life, wasting my time, comfortable being red. And then when it got to green, I solved the problem. I paid off my monthly credit card bill, and I get in the next trade, and down she goes. I'm back into my very preconditioned mental agreement with myself that debt is okay. Once I realized this, I realized I had to I had to change my relationship with money. And, through the course of trick trades and past teaching, the debt problems have been solved. But this is the next step of this thing here is the scars of the debt mentality still exist. So even though I no longer carry debt, I no longer buy things that I can't afford or don't need and use credit cards to solve my problems, their scars are still there. And this has been part of a healing process of really reshaping the financial relationship that I have with money and being less tolerant of the red trades and forcing myself to recondition the experience of being green. This is literally like working out. Like I've got to recondition my legs because I haven't been working them out. I have to recondition my mind to enjoy the experience and also adjust the expectations of living life in a green state. And I don't know if you can take it from there, Pat, because now it's like, well, what do you do when someone who has this debt mentality where they don't understand that being green is good and they have to fix it? How do you go from that debt mentality to profit mentality?
I think before we get to that point, I don't want to just brush over what Adam just said. So I think it's important to really hammer home one part specifically that he's talking about, where if you have that mentality, which I guarantee a lot of you do, you may not realize it, but you do. That's what's going on. And one of the major issues is probably like top 3 of the issues that traders have. It's like one of the biggest ones. You are way more comfortable, like Adam said, sitting in that red. Why? Why is that? This is why. It's because you're brainwashed, you're conditioned into, just like Adam pointed out, with being in a credit card or using credit cards to pay for everything that you do in the month. And sometimes it's necessities and sometimes it's luxuries, but you're so used to being in the red all the time that you're okay with it, right? In your outside life, your regular life with your credit cards. And then you come into trading and you wonder why you have this weird emotional connection to money. And I've talked about that a lot. Well, you have that connection, and especially being more comfortable being red in the position, right? You'll let it go to fucking zero. You can sit there all day. You might be uncomfortable, don't get me wrong, but you'll just sit there and you won't react because that's something that you're doing in your life every single day of your life, and you're not realizing that that's what you're fucking doing. You're sitting there in the red and you are comfortable until the end of the month when your statement is due. And then you feel that relief at the end of the month when you make your minimum payment or whatever payment on that credit card. And then you feel that relief. Do you see how that is exactly what John is doing? He is paying his monthly statement, his monthly balance, by getting flush, just break even in those trades. This is some stuff. This is heavy shit that is in our subconscious that we don't realize that we're doing as traders, folks. This type of stuff that we're talking about right now is so important. And you like now to talk about like a remedy. So now that I really wanted to hammer home what Adam was saying and why John and others are so comfortable just like being red. They're okay with it being red, but they're not okay with it being green. And that's obviously ass backwards. And there's a lot of you out there, if you actually think about it, like don't just be like, oh, okay, yeah. No, stop. That's brushing over it. Mm-hmm. Step number 1 is to sit down in a quiet place, and I need you to think about this. Really think about it. Like soak it in, retain it, marinate on it, have some of your own thoughts about why you're comfortable in debt when you should never be comfortable with being in debt. Mm-hmm. Now, before we get into the solution part, I want to share something with you guys. And it's always weird talking about money because it makes me uncomfortable sometimes talking about money because I don't have money issues. I live a very successful life. I don't have any debt. Okay. Now, I want to go back years ago now. I had credit cards and stuff like that. And even when I was making money as a trader, I was already fully consistent. I was already making money. I was so scared to spend money. I was almost like on the opposite end of the spectrum for years. I think the first 3 years, maybe even 3.5, 4 years of my trading career. So remember, I've already made well over $1 million. Okay. Trading. I'm doing well. I was still using an all-in-one PC and a $20 that I bought off of Kijiji. It's called up in Canada. It's like a buy and sell monitor, little shitty monitor, right? Probably wasn't even worth $20, the $20 that I spent on it. I could have put it on a credit card and bought the fanciest fucking whatever. Even before I started making money, I won't do that. My ultimate goal always is freedom. It's always been freedom. It's not to be rich. It's not to have millions in the bank. That just happens to be a byproduct of the process of I don't want to say proper mentality. I'm not trying to come off like I've always had the answers. That is far from the fucking truth. That's not the truth. But when it comes to things, the one thing that has always been like my guiding light, so to speak, is freedom. That word freedom. I need freedom. That's what I need. I cannot exist in a world where I personally don't have freedom. Okay? So I've always worked towards that. If that's something that any of you that are listening to, that's what you're looking for, like there's some people that are watching this and they probably already clicked off a long time ago because they're not interested in stuff that'll actually help them. They're interested in making money and getting rich. Those people, that they're gone. There's no helping those people until they come around to actually understanding it's not about the money, it's about something else, right? But for those of you that kind of know that you're working towards something, well, that something is freedom. That freedom should be your guiding light. And I know that that's like kind of a weird answer or solution to what Adam's saying, but if you really think about it, it isn't. I'm telling you, that's what saved my ass years and years and years ago. Where did I have debt and everything else? Yes, of course. Everybody does when they're a normal citizen, a regular working class person. Everybody's going to have debt, right? That's a normal thing. But it's the type of debt that you have. Like, are you just, and I've done it too back in the day. I've bought shit on credit cards and financing that it's like, I shouldn't have done that. I should have just saved to get that TV or that sound system or that whatever. We're led to believe that that's like normal behavior. It isn't. I know it's normal. It's not acceptable though. Mm-hmm. Why? Because you are always under somebody's thumb. I don't want to ever be under somebody's thumb. And that's what's always kept me relatively safe. So that's a solution. It doesn't sound like the solution you want, but that is a solution. It's understanding that and believing and having the self-respect and the self-confidence to not live under somebody's thumb. That will help you more than you even realize. If your main goal is always freedom, that's your number one. That will save your ass a lot because again, you don't want to put yourself in a situation that extracts from your freedom, right? It kind of makes sense, doesn't it? The other thing that we can start doing now, let's say maybe you got a little carried away on your credit cards and stuff like that, and now you're fucked, which is probably 70% of people watching this, maybe more, maybe a little bit less. Well, what can you do? Well, there's a lot of things that you can do. You can start working towards a goal, not your dream, not your end freedom. That's too far away. It's work towards little goals every day. And yes, you're going to come up and you're going to go down. You're going to come up, you're going to go down. But ultimately, just like a stock chart, as long as you're trending up, you're good to go. You have to start making a plan. Everything in life boils down to a plan. Like, would you agree with that, Adam? Like, Adam is someone that has found success in life. He owned and operated a really successful restaurant business. And then 4 years ago hit, and we all know what happened then. And we've talked about this before. But Adam does have the right mindset. Back then, though, he still fell into the trap of debt and everything else and like bad debt. There's good debt and bad debt. This was bad debt. But would you agree that it has to start with a plan?
Well, yeah. Well, and I think at one level it starts up beyond is really understanding what you're saying about freedom. And so before the plan, even let's go one step further out or in, it's identifying what we really want and making a commitment to ourselves deep within our heart. I'm all in. I want my freedom. And then, like I said, that becomes a guiding light. And something happens to our brain in how it operates, how it processes information. When we make an emotionally charged, heartfelt, real decision about what our future is going to be like. When we make that decision, that I'm no longer going to tolerate this behavior, because that's a decision. I'm going to stop relying on debt to solve my problems. Okay, says the brain, we're no longer going down this path to solve problems. Now what do I got to do? You basically corner it. And now it starts computing things differently. And so now we can create a plan from a place of alignment that finds harmony with the goal that we're after, which is freedom. Our brain can do that, but it can't do it unless we tell it by the proper decision making that has real emotion. If you don't feel it, if you don't believe it, well, the brain and your subconscious, all the mechanisms that we have in here are going to be like, whatever, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
Right?
It boils
So
down to the truth.
We have to be serious. And then we have to stop the contradictions. Because if we contradict ourselves, oh, I want freedom, and then you go and put your TV on credit card, your brain doesn't believe you, and it's not going to solve your problems. So you have to, like, it's like training him. You have to retrain the dog. You have to say, no, no, down, down, no. And then when we start doing that, we can bring that into trading. And can you pull John's chart up real quick, Pat? Because this is kind of in this plan here. Like you said, his entries are good. So why is this chart going down? It's just going down. We might think, oh, look, he's just taking losses, right? But what's the losses are going to happen. What's not there, of course, is the profits. The profits would flip that upside. You could have the exact same red trades, no change. But we don't know if John is specifically dealing with credit card debt. Now, he did say on this, and I hope this is okay to mention, that he doesn't currently have an occupation. And so there is a level of financial uncertainty in his life. And that could be, we don't know if he's offsetting we want to give him, just be respectful to his financial situation. And we're just pulling ideas from what the chart is telling us, recognizing that there is a greater challenge that is reflected in the chart, which is debt mindset. And so if we start seeing our actions are going to pursuing a plan based on freedom, our mind is going to say, I'm no longer going to cut my trades. I'm going to set a different target and start understanding what, Pat, your natural movement theory, and say, I'm going to wait for the target. Because we're setting up plans in our life where there's targets, we can apply those targets. I'm going to save my money. I'm going to stop spending. And I'm going to also hold through the discomfort to get those trades green where they need to be. And that chart will go up, no different in red trades, but a plan in place that where your whole life is living for green trades.
Yeah, 100%. And it does. It needs to start somewhere. And after that, that first decision about being actually honest with yourself, that you're no longer going to tolerate this, there's a second part to this that a lot of people they miss. Because if I were to ask you what your goal was in life, not you, Adam, but just people watching this, they would most likely say some version of what I'm about to say next. I'm going to put my feet up on the beach. Okay, that's great. That's a great dream, but that's not a goal. So what I'm getting at is when people are kind of first new to this and like trying to correct their mindset, what they do is they set dreams. Dreams and goals are very different, right? And I'm not saying that dream isn't possible. I have that. I can go at any point during the day and go put my feet up on the beach. 100%. That's a dream. So back when I first started doing this, if I would have told myself that was my dream, I don't think, or my goal, I wouldn't be sitting here. There's too much of a gap. Okay. This is your dream. This is your goal. You need to cut these dreams out, throw those out the window. Don't even think about those. They're too far away. It's too much of a gap. You got to live here. You got to live into goals. And then you see now how you reach that dream. So it's like a ladder. It's like rungs on a ladder. If you cut out that first rung, you start with that first rung and your last rung of a ladder, a 20-foot ladder. If you cut out all of these rungs, how are you going to get to that? You can't. It's impossible unless you're Superman and you can fly or jump or whatever the hell. And it's that far away. It really is. That can be taken literally. That analogy should be taken literally. You won't get there. There's a big, big, big difference between dreams and goals. That should be number 2. You need to set goals. And the funny thing is, and this is what's really interesting, once you get to those goals or your main goal, okay, like something that is tangible, that you can absolutely do, it'll just take time. That goal, that main goal, that dream no longer will exist. That goal, that main goal now becomes your dream and you've hit it. And an example of that, I'm going to use Adam and Jen for this. Their goal was to get out of the bulk of their debt, work hard on building their house on that piece of property that they have in Florida. And that was a goal. It probably wasn't their like dream. It was their goal. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely.
It was your goal. It wasn't your dream. It was your goal, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We had to fix our living situation.
Yes.
And so the goal was to repair one part of our life that was broken.
Yes. So now that he's there, and I know this because I talk with Adam and Jen all the time, and they're the happiest they've ever been. Mm-hmm. That goal has now become their dream. They probably wouldn't trade that for the world. So do you see what I'm saying? Like these dreams that we all have, that dream mentality, throw that shit out the window. There's too far of a gap. And there's way too much of a gap in your mind too, in order to get to that dream. Mm-hmm. Like people have the dream of winning the lottery. Is it going to fucking happen? No. Is there goals of maybe working harder to make more money? Yeah, that's a tangible goal. And once you get there, it'll flip. That dream no longer exists. Remember when you were a kid and you had all of these dreams? I'm going to become an astronaut, or I'm going to be a rock star, or whatever the hell it was. Now, yes, there's very few people on the planet that actually lived out their legitimate childhood dream. Okay. But that's such a small portion of the population. There's no point in even talking about it. But ones that set goals, it's doable. It's completely doable. So it's about having that right mentality and mindset, guys. This is why we talk about this shit more than anything, is mentality and mindset on this channel. Yeah, there's lots of stuff that I talk about where it comes to the technicals and all of that stuff, the basics of trading and everything else. But that's only such a small portion of it. This is the stuff that will actually get you to those goals, period. So it's like those two things I think is a great start point. Having that plan in place, first of all, saying enough is enough, then having some sort of actionable plan. You don't need to get crazy with it. It doesn't need to be super detailed. Why? Because as time progresses, you are going to figure things out. See, a lot of people, they get overloaded when you tell them you got to have a plan, because they think they need to cover all of their angles and this and that and everything else. And that's not the case. Mm-hmm. That doesn't need to happen. It will happen and it will unfold as you go. Okay. And then having those goals, that's really important. Now, there is actually one clip that I forgot about that I do want to share, because in life, you're going to be given opportunities, okay, that are going to come out of nowhere, that are going to seem very negative. But if you can think about things the right way and get out of that debt mentality, because that's still what it boils down to. It's because you still have a debt mentality. It's not like a literal in debt mentality, but it is debt mentality. You can never see the positive when you're like that, because you're always living in the negative, always. Okay. You're going to miss out on opportunities.
The word, and one of the ways, as we're talking about how do you turn this around? And one of the other biggest lessons that really helped is how we formulate our expectations. And it's amazing what happens to our mind when we change our expectations. And that's what you're talking about. To sum it up, it's like you're saying, well, it's great to pursue the dreams, but those, we put our expectations there. But then when you adjust your expectations to a goal, achieving a goal, that's what fixes everything. So there's so much collision and struggle that happens when our expectations are not in line with our skill level. And so that's why, the Size Up program, just to throw that in here real quick, it is a ladder.
Yes.
If you're to look at the way we have the Size Up structure, it adjusts traders' expectations as to what they should be doing, keep them in their wheelhouse, and then they can go up the ladder to their dreams, one step at a time. So everything you just said actually just mirrors our Size Up program perfectly.
Yeah, it really does, because everything is laid out step by step. They are ladder rungs, and they are achievable ladder rungs. They're achievable goals to get to that bump you up. And once you get to that third rung, only the third rung, that's when things start going exponential. And then those jumps in what you're making per day are a lot more. And then you can start to visualize. You can now actually see where it's going and where you're headed. And it's about having a plan, right? And that's what the Size Up program is. It's a plan. It is a blueprint. It's not some fantasy that people sell out there. There's a lot of fantasies that get sold. This isn't a fantasy. This isn't some pipe dream. This isn't selling you blue sky. This is an actionable set of goals, a ladder, so to speak, that is completely achievable for anyone. And I know a lot of people ask this question, so I might as well just address it now that we're talking about it. Can a bare bones beginner do this? Yes, absolutely. Why? Because our educational department starts everybody at a bare bones beginner, because that's where each and every one of you truly are. If you are honest, some people come in and it's like, oh man, I'm way beyond this. And then it's usually within that first week of being at Trick Trades where they actually see what real traders are and how fucking badass they are. They're like, oh shit, yeah, I don't know what I thought I knew. Exactly. Right? This is why we start everyone right at that beginner stage. It's necessary, right? And then we start building on top of that. We lay that foundation. So it doesn't matter if you don't have any experience. In fact, that's better some ways, because you're not all muddy with all that nonsense that you've been told, right? So let's play this clip. I hope this is the right clip. I believe it is.
Okay, losing your job is never good. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. Losing a job, losing a fixed income, especially when you're a family guy, it's not a nice situation. It's a horrible situation, but you can also look at it as a gift. If as long as you know you can get another job and there's another job in the pipeline, well, you've been given this time. You've been given this little opportunity of time to work on this and to get it right and to get your mindset right and to push through. You're either going to take that gift or you're going to blow that gift. And the way you're going on right now, in 2 months' time, 3 months' time, if you go back to work, you are going to look back on this and think, damn it, I had that opportunity where time was my friend and I didn't take it.
And that's it right there. There's a lot of times that we get given gifts in life and we don't recognize the gift. I can think back to every single negative that has ever come up in my life. And do you know, I can say this with 100% certainty. If those, and I'm talking nightmares, man. These aren't even just bad dreams that happen. These are nightmares that you wouldn't want to wish on anyone. But I wouldn't take those away. I wouldn't change any one of those for anything, because there's always a positive. I can always pull a positive out of anything bad that has ever happened. And if that didn't happen, it wouldn't have led me on the course that I am on today. I wouldn't be here. If I would have just given up and, threw my arms up in the air, which so many people do, and they blame and they pout and they want to, look for some other thing or whatever the case may be, you're not going to get to the point where you need to be. And this is a great example of it. We get given gifts. You know, John's been given the gift of time. Is it horrible? Does it suck that he doesn't have a job right now? Right? Yeah, fuck. Of course. Of course. You don't want to take somebody's money away from them. That's not what I'm saying. But regardless, that situation is the present situation. You understand? You're not going to fucking change that, right? You can change it. Sure, go get another job. I get that. But for the time being, he doesn't have it. But what does he have? He has time. What do each and every one of you out there that are working a 9-to-5 job, that are currently holding a job, what do you wish you had more of to practice on your trading? Time. So do you see, John, how you've been given a gift? Don't just throw that gift away. Recognize the gift. Be thankful and grateful for it, because it's not going to last forever. You obviously know you will get another job. It's probably right around the corner. And then what? You will, just like Kelvo said, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, fuck, I had a month or 2 months off where I could have been just like focused on my trading. Everybody wants to live in the future. If you live in the future, you're fucked. You're fucked. You cannot get, you won't be present, right? Because you're constantly worrying. You're worrying about stuff that it's going to happen regardless. There's nothing you can do about it at that time. So whatever that gift is, or that bad thing that is actually a gift, the gift of time, something we all wish we had more of. I know I wish that I had more time as a trader, because I was a pipeline welder. And a lot of you may work in the office. I didn't have that luxury where I had, fast internet. I could just go hide in the shitter and fucking trade off my phone or something. I didn't have that. I had a low speed air stick, right? Because this is 10 years ago plus. And I was working out in the oil field in northern Alberta, Canada, right? There's nothing there, man, right? And I still made it happen. I did what I had to do, and that was it. So I wished I had more time where I was at home and everything else. So don't throw away these little gifts because you want to dwell on the negative, which again is that debt mindset. Regardless, it's still debt mindset. You're always just thinking in the negative, right? And it's like, because you're kind of comfortable there, right? It's like, don't be comfortable there. You need to start flipping the script inside your mind. You really need to start thinking more positive. When life gives you these little gifts, or opportunities, seize the opportunity, man. Take that opportunity. And that's really what you have to do. So I wanted to point that out because I think a lot of people do that. They'll be given something that a lot of people wish for, actually. Like, if you really think about it, again, if I were to poll everyone that's going to watch this video, there'd be hundreds or thousands of people that would say, I wish I had more time, right? And it's like, he's been given time. And it's like, but right now he's so focused on man, I'm not making any money and this and that he's throwing away the opportunity. It's like, he knows he's going to get another job, right? He'll get another job. It's around the corner. It's going to happen, right? So it's like, just relax, focus on what you need to focus on, take this gift and this opportunity and work it until you need to go back. Because if not, once you go back to work, you're going to look back and you're going to kick yourself in the fucking ass. And then that's living life in regrets and living life in hindsight and in your rear view fucking mirror. And that's no good either, man. I know that a lot of people can definitely benefit from this one. There's a lot here. There is actually a lot to unpack. And do you have any closing thoughts, Adam?
Yeah, last closing thought here. As I'm listening to and thinking about this debt mentality and the PTSD, what I realized also is the shift is, once I stopped lying to myself and had contradictory actions, I began to realize that my sense of self-worth started to change. And so I think a lot of people who tolerate the debt mentality, there's a mirror going on with their self-worth. And it's because you've been selling yourself short.
Yeah.
And you're selling yourself short so you don't feel like we're worthy of money. We don't feel like we're worthy of gain. We don't feel like we're worthy of profits. And so only until the deep levels of self-work began, where I said, I'm not tolerating this. I'm not spending my money anymore. I'm not lying to myself anymore. I'm not lying to my wife about what I'm focusing on. And and tolerating distractions and making excuses. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
Making excuses. When we make excuses, when we lie, our subconscious knows it's like the difference between gold and a porous material. Gold is valuable because it has character as a metal. It doesn't rust. It doesn't decay. It can withstand all the circumstances. Even in heat, while it melts, it still retains its value. And so we have to kind of be like gold. We have to act like gold. We have to be pure in our honesty with ourselves and how we communicate with people and our expectations. And then when we make those internal decisions, our self-worth rises, and then the money matches that and becomes effortless. And that's why I think Pat is such an example of going from 30 to $1 million in a year.
Yeah.
Not so much because of his skill. His skill came out of his self-worth.
Yeah.
That he wasn't going to tolerate the bullshit in his life. And then the success showed up.
That's when it all changed.
What's so magical about this.
And that's when it all changed. It was literally just one singular thought. That's all it was. That it's like, no more lies, no more bullshit, no more fucking around. And everything changed. And I wish people understood how, when it came down to it, how easy it was. Truly, it really was. Because I think about it, the life that I lived prior to that thought and everything changed, that was much harder. Much harder. It's much easier once you have that conversation with yourself, and then you see just how quickly, in 1 year, going from $30 to $1 million in the fucking bank. In 1 year.
And why? Because of your self-worth.
That's right.
I'm not going to compromise anymore.
Yep.
You became like gold.
Yep. And when I first initially started talking about that shift, I always said, even before it became popular, you need to get selfish. It's not being selfish. That's not what it is. Like thinking about it now, and that's probably like a whole other thing, but like, it's not about being selfish. It's about having self-fucking respect and taking care of what you need to take care of. It's about being a fucking man, right? Or a strong woman, however you want to put it. But for me, being a fucking man, right? Taking care of the shit I need to take care of with no distractions. There's nothing I will allow to get in my way or stop me. That's it. That's what it came down to. It's not being selfish. It's like some people will perceive it as being selfish. That's fine. They can perceive it any way they fucking want. Because at the end of the day, I know what I'm working towards. People will always love to try and take you back down. And it's going to come from people that you think are friends and family and close ones and loved ones too. It's not just going to come from the haters or the trolls or however people want to say it. It's like, no, this shit's going to come from you at all angles. You have to have the strength and the wherewithal and the fucking stomach to push past that, because that's what it is. It's not being selfish. And I know I said that for years. It isn't. Thinking about it further, it's not about being selfish. It's knowing your self fucking worth. That's what it is. And I think that is a perfect way to end this one. So thanks, Adam. Thanks for John, member John, that again, put it all out there for us, for the world to see and for the members to see. And I know he'll appreciate it. And new episode will be out in the next couple of few days. So be on the lookout for these folks. And if you want to learn how to trade consistently and profitably, and you want a legitimate blueprint on how to size up and a strategy and your risk strategy, all included with membership, go to tricktrades.com. Adios, folks.